Right, so I'm going to try and do you guys. The microphone's going to be terrible, so I'm going to do an overlay on top. A full rear discs and pads on the VW Caddy. So what I've done is, every wheel's been chocked. That one's got a chock behind it. A chock is just a block, a piece of wood behind it. The other one at the other side has. This one obviously doesn't. This one has a block, so it can't roll. A block over there, so it can't roll. And then what you do is just let the handbrake down, obviously because you need to be able to spin the wheel. So I'm going to try and time lapse it, get through as much of this and show you guys how to do it. So wheels free, we're jacked up on the mount. What I do is put a axle stand if you haven't got any underneath. You shouldn't leave it just on a jack on its own, but I also have a jack there just to support the axle stand. I like to double up, especially given that it's on the driveway. So 17mm, we'll take your wheels off. Now this has not been touched, and you'll see, in a long time. If you haven't got a gun, put the jack down, crack them off by hand, and then take it up. Don't be trying to force it while it's on the jack. So either you've got a gun powerful enough to take them off from this, like this big one, or you need to crack them off first and then lift the car off and then just loosen them off. Again, you've got to take care when you're doing this. See how I double up with an axle stand, put all the blocks all the way around because I don't want this thing to fall. Let's get into it. Sound very good. So this wheel, put it underneath the car, because if it goes to fall, it will fall on the wheel and not on you. Not that you're going to be underneath, but you can see the wheel is now under the back of the car. So this has not been done in a long time. You can see the disc is old, the caliper is really bad. Now if you watched my last video, you'll see that these calipers tend to seize. Now what you don't want to be doing is putting a seized caliper on. So if your caliper is seized, and you'll find that when you've got to wind it back, if your caliper's seized, replace it. If your caliper's not seized, you can reuse it, but if it is seized, that's where you might come into a little bit of difficulty doing these brakes and pads, because it's easy to swap discs, it's easy to swap pads over, but these have been on a long time, so it's more than likely that the caliper will be seized. But we'll have a look at it. I'm fortunate enough, I've got a spare caliper, which I've just on the other side, so I bought a 2 pair of rear calipers for 50 quid. So please bear in mind that when you're doing this. Right, let's get cracking. So we've got 2 nuts on the top of the caliper. So one nut is here and one nut is here, and that'll release the caliper off. So let's get them 2. I think they're a 13 or a 12mm. Let's crack them off. And because these haven't been changed in so long, and I'm not using the discs, bit of WD on, all the bolts. So there's 2 of them bolts, and then there's 2 bolts for the caliper carrier. So there's 4 bolts in total you need to take off, and there is 1 electrical connector on the back of here. So let's start off by getting that. I think it's a 12mm. Try. See if I get. Let's just spin that. So it's definitely a 12mm spanner. or you can use a gun here if you've got a gun. The gun's a lot easier. If this doesn't come off with by hand, then you know you need to get a gun on it. You see that? Now you see this bit here twisting round, this little metal clip. You need a pair of grips or something on there. Now this one's definitely been touched before because the bolt is a lot easier to get off than the other side, but you might need to put a pair of grips. Let's have a look and see if I can get it off by hand. No, see, it's just twisting. See, it's just twisting round there. So what you need to do is get a pair of grips and put it on the metal, and then you'll just be able to, it'll just stop it turning as you're winding that nut out. Now, I'm not doing this by hand because it's why I've got the tools for it, but you can do it by hand. So you're doing this. So there's the first nut out, the caliper, and then we'll do the bottom one, which again you can't see, but I will show you. All I do with these is just crack them off by hand. That's the bottom caliper bolt here. Might need to be 11. Oh, 12 looks pretty good. So now that is on there. See how tight they are. Very, very tight. So again, if you can't get them off, there you go. You could use a little bit of heat, but just be mindful if you're using heat down there and there's rubber and stuff around, you might burn the rubber. So just be very careful in doing so. That's now spinning round. So again, grab your clamp, put your clamp back on. You only want it on the metal. So both nuts are off. It's moving ever so slightly. Just get that clamp off, like so. So it may just need a little. This is how seized the pads and everything are. But we just need a little knock off. And what I would do is put a screwdriver in there and just. I mean, look, it shouldn't be that tight. You see? See what I mean? It shouldn't be that tight. So let's just get it moving. So I'm more than sure this is going to be seized. So just taking the caliper off, look at all that rust and it's not being maintained. All I'm doing is just knocking it out slowly, don't want to damage anything. And there we go. Just leave that over there for the minute. Right, next thing we need to do is get this caliper carrier bracket off. Now these pads will come off. You don't have to hammer them, but more than if you're not using them again, more than likely they're pretty toast. So just get rid. I mean, look at them. They've not been changed in a long time. There's even been a time where they've been stuck where the van's probably not been moving. You can see that line in there. So again, they are useless. Right, next thing we need to do is get the caliper carrier bracket, which is this thing here. So to get that off, it is a, what is that, 18mm nut. Now luckily enough, I've got a zapper. If you haven't got a zapper, you're going to have to crack it off by hand. When you've got a zapper, buy a zapper, a dugger gun. There you go, and there's one bolt out. So if you can't get it out by the gun, you're going to have to put a little bit of heat on it. So we'll try one more time. If we can't get it out by the gun, which we know we ain't going to be able to, I don't think, we'll have to get a little bit of heat on it. Now the heat, just be mindful, there's wires, there's things around, just be very careful if you're going to put heat on. But it should come off. It should come off with the gun. That is not even budging. So, get some heat on it, so move all these out the way. Because we don't want to burn any wires. And then just get your gas bottle. That should, I say should, come out. You never know. I'll find them in 2 minutes for you, son. I'll find them.
I want to do that with you. I want to find my tool for you.
You're going to in 1 minute. Who will it be?
I want to find my tool for you.
You want to find the right tool for me?
No.
You need your shoes on?
I don't know where they are. They need shoes. I don't know where they are. I don't know where shoes they are.
Out the way.
I want to hold tight. I want to hold tight.
God, that bolt's so tight. That's how you can tell when something's not being maintained, when it's tight. But don't worry, because the heat will get it out. absolutely no way.
What, Dad?
Nothing, son. So you see now, there we go, you see how long that took without heat. So this last nut out, there we are, and then that should just come off there. So that's your caliper carrier. So what you're going to have to do next is you take these, you want to grease up the pins, so put a bit of grease inside here just to grease up the pins. They should be free. If they move like this, then that's fine, they've got movement, they're okay. Same this side. But yeah, I'm going to have to get a wire wheel, a wire brush next and clean out. So these silver things are what the actual the brake pads sit in. So what I always do is take them off. You can leave them on like so, and just give them a real good clean up. So you see the difference when you give them a good clean. They look totally better. So give them a good scrub like that. Go back on now, because we're pretty much done. Now we need the disc off, don't we? So there's normally a little locking pin there. Next thing to do is get the old disc off. Little locking pin in there. They do seize up quite easy. So I put a bit of WD-40 on. You should never put WD-40 on your discs. But I like to just warm that bit up. When you do light WD-40, it will go up in flames, as you can see. I just like to warm that up before I get it out. And so far, so good. Jinxed it. It snapped. Bloody lovely. Will that disc come off though? Maybe. Got all that crud just when they're this old and seized, you are going to have to give them a good welly to get them off. Very seized on these things. That nut shouldn't stop it coming off. There you go. And then that is off. So that little screw, you can either drill it out, or you might be able to get a pair of grips. Drill that out in a minute. I have got a drill bit that just goes around here, cleans up all of this, but really clean everything up. So there's that. I need to get that bit out. So then what you guys would do is on your caliper wind this piston back, but you've got to take your cap off your brake fluid first before you wind this back, so you need a wind back tool. This caliper's been on for some time, so I've gone and got myself a spare caliper, because the other side was seized, so I'm going to change it anyway. But all you would do is get your wind back tool on here and just wind that back. But I'm not doing that, so I'm just going to quickly disconnect this caliper and get my new caliper on. Now you wouldn't need to bleed the brake either, but I do because I'm going to put a new caliper on. So just before that, all I'd done was, after I drilled out that little locking pin nut, I just put the new disc on there. Now all I'm doing is I'm disconnecting the caliper because I'm putting a new caliper on, and you don't need to do that. You've already got your caliper. As long as it'll push back or wind back, now you can use a clamp to push down back the mechanism on the caliper, but if it's a wind back, I always try pushing the caliper back first, then wind it back if that doesn't work. So all I'm doing simply here is taking this little locking off on this caliper, and I'm swapping the caliper over. I won't go into too much detail. I'm clamping the line off when I change the caliper over because I don't want all of the brake fluid to pee out of it. Then what I'm doing is taking the old fittings off the old caliper, so the old wires or lines, shall we call them, that feed the brake fluid from the reservoir to the caliper, and I'm just going to swap that over onto my new one. So let's assume you pushed or wound back your caliper. Obviously I've done a quick caliper replacement there. I've got so many different videos about doing brakes, so go and check them out if you don't know how to wind or push back a caliper. Then we're going to put the caliper carrier bracket back on. This was the one where the nuts were a pain in the backside. They were very, very tight. So all I'm doing is, because I haven't got a locking pin, my disc is moving, so I'm just going to try and get the caliper bracket on there. As you can see, get that tightened up, and then we can start to put the caliper back. As I mentioned, there's two 18mm bolts in the back of that caliper carrier bracket, and now we can get the caliper on. So I'll put the caliper carrier bracket back on now. That was them two bolts which were a pain in the backside. Then I've got my new pads on. All I'm going to do is put a little bit of lube on either end, either tabs on the end, and slide them into the position, and then put the caliper back over the top and start tightening. Very straightforward as to when you disassembled it. You just need to reassemble it in exactly the same way. Tighten this up, and that's pretty much it for discs and pads. The rear has got a handbrake cable in there when you're taking the caliper apart, but if you're not, don't worry about it. And that's the whole van with new discs, new pads and new calipers all the way around. And yeah, I think she looks fantastic. So do me a massive favour, if you've enjoyed this, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.